Hello, my name is Paul Bartlett. I'm a wood turner here in Southwest Florida. I just wanted to show you my latest project and explain why I'm doing this video. I've made quite a few of the rhombic tricontrehedrons and then turned them into spheres. This is my latest one here. It came out really well. Best one of the ones I did as far as fitting it and putting it together. There's always a challenge on when you assemble these, if you assemble them piece by piece and you get down to the last few pieces, you always have to kind of file to fit, as I like to say, file to fit, fit to function. And I really wanted to make one without doing that. So this video will show you how I made this last one. I've kind of perfected the process quite a bit, as maybe you've seen in some of my other videos, the way I did it. So the key to this thing is a sled to make your diamond shapes, and the biggest thing of all is the assembly. I assemble the complete sphere, if you will, all in one glue up. In other words, I put glue on all the parts and bring them together, and you'll see that in detail at the end of my video. So thank you for watching. Alright, I've made quite a few of these rhombic tricontrahedrons, and they've all come out okay in the end, but not perfect. And so I decided to see if I could make one that's going to be, everything is going to fit, and it's going to work the way it's supposed to. Whether it will or not, I don't know, but I'm going to give it a try. So what I decided to do was make a sled. Before, I'd just been doing them with a cut-off sled and a fence, and they're just not quite accurate enough. So I figured I'd make a sled. I actually had another sled that I had used for something, and I revised it. And so it runs on 2 tracks. I've actually doubled up the 3/4 plywood here. It looks like 3/4 and a 1/2 inch plywood to give me a little meat there. And I put my stops on here, or my fence, at 63.436 degrees. That's probably the most important number here, although they're all important. So I set that up with a digital angle, and my blade is tilted at 18 degrees. I ripped all my stock here with the same angle on the blade. I haven't changed it since I cut these. So basically I cut all of these strips with the fence, and I cut them to my layout, which I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's a little CAD layout I did, and it tells me that the width of my strips need to be 2 inches and 95 thousandths wide. So I cut them to those widths with the blade cut. They're turned at 45. So now I use my sled, and I wanted to be able to do one completely, and so I can check it and make sure everything is right. So I have it set up here, and I'm going to go ahead and cut one See how it goes. Alright, I cut 3 of them. As I mentioned before, the diamond-shaped pieces have to be made by the golden ratio of 1.618. So the distance between these two short points multiplied by 1.618 needs to be, that would be this dimension here. That has to be close. I know on some of the other ones I did, I got, I don't know, within 20 thousandths or a little less maybe, and it didn't work out so good. So I know I've already made a setup, and I've checked these, and you would cut them one at a time and check to make sure that you've got that consistent ratio. So I cut 3 of them up, and you put together the 3 pieces. Very hard to do this. They go together like that. I can't even see inside, but that's how they have to go together. If they don't fit together like that, then you've got something wrong. But I found once I got my distance between these two times 1.618 equals this distance, things look pretty good. And that is, a lot of that is controlled by your initial angle set up here, which is 63.436. So you start out, you get that angle good, then it's just a matter of the width and the length have to be the same. You know, so it's perpendicular here is the same number as horizontal here. Okay. Okay, I have all my diamond-shaped pieces cut. They all look pretty good. So just to make this job a little more interesting, I'm adding these petitions. This is walnut. It's about 30,000 sticks, so I'm going to glue them on all 4 sides so that when the assembly goes together, it kind of accents the joints. I think it'll look a lot better. It's pretty boring if they're just a plain wood put together. So this is how I do it. You just put a very little bit of glue on the first 2 sides. I do 2 sides, Doing the long sides, long grain sides first. Put them together like that. And then I just put rubber bands. Put two on. Get them right out to the ends. .30 is pretty flexible, so it doesn't take much pressure to hold it in. And then I just put a third rubber band here in the middle. Just it's not very tight, but it holds them in place. Okay, that's how I do it. I'll do one more here. By using just a little bit of glue, it helps them stay in place a little better. I think you get the idea of that. I'll take these over on my disc sander, which I have tilted at an exact 18 degrees. So when I have all of these, 30 of these done and dry, I'll take it over and I'll just sand these pieces I just put on flush with the surface, and then I will put two more on the ends here, and then I will trim those down and we'll be ready for the assembly. So I think that gives you the idea. Alright, I have all my walnut pieces glued on and the ends cut off. When you glue them on, your surface isn't perfect, and you put two surfaces together, it's even worse. So these needed a little bit of touching up, and what I've done is I've just marked a couple lines on each surface. And I've set up my sander here at 18 degrees, and I've done test pieces. I know right in here is a perfect 18 degree. So what I'm doing is just touching these up until those lines disappear. Very carefully not to do it, and it seems to work quite well. So I'll just do a few here, and you can see how I do it. have this one that I had glued up, but I know it's the perfect angle. So if these fit in there correctly, I know I'm doing it right. As you can see, they fit in there pretty good. So that's what I'm going to do. Now I have all my diamond shaped pieces all cut, trimmed. The borders are all trimmed. Everything is ready to be assembled. Normally I assemble like the center pieces into a circle and build the top and build the bottom. And when you get down to the last few pieces, it's always things, a lot of adjusting and adding a shim here or there. So I wanted to see if I could do this without having to do that. So I'm going to try and glue these all in one operation. I'm going to use epoxy so I have plenty of time. If I use glue, I would probably, before I got through clamping things up, the glue might be dry. So with the epoxy, I've got probably an hour to mess around with it. Hopefully I won't need that. So I have them all taped up here in the orientation they're supposed to be. So I wanted you to just see that. And now I got to flip this over and put the glue on them and do them up. So what I do is I'm going to put this on the top here. Squeeze this here while you turn it. Okay. And I think I'm just going to leave it like that. And slide it out on the bench because this is going to be a very, very big mess here. It's either going to work or it's going to be a major catastrophe. I'm hoping it'll work. If it don't, well, that's the way it is. Out of here. Okay, I have my epoxy mixed up, and I'm just going to do all the joints here. Hopefully I got enough epoxy. Let's see how it's going to work here. It's going. I got a little tape here and I'm going to kind of get some in place. Hopefully that tape will hold a little bit, but I don't know. I've got some little balls here about the right diameter. Hopefully that'll possibly keep things in shape. Oh. I'll be a nervous wreck when I get this thing done. Okay. Now, mess. Just going to take these gloves off. Throw them away. There's another pair on here. If I had the regular tight bond glue, I'd be in trouble now because I got a long way to go here to get things in place. I'm going to try rubber bands here. Well, it actually looks pretty good. Went a little better than I expected. It turned sour for a minute, but we made it. So we'll give that 24 hours and see what we got. Okay, this thing is dried overnight. Feels nice and dry, so I'm going to unwrap it and take a closer look at what we got. Okay, I've taken all the wrapping off. I just touched up each surface on the disc sander. And for the most part, it looks really good for putting it all together in one piece. No last two or three piece file to fit the function had to happen here. Just everything was put together with no fitting or anything. So I'm saying that's the way to go in the future. We'll see what it looks like when I turn it round. But just so you can see, there might be one or two joints that are just maybe open at the top. I think when I turn it, those will disappear. So we'll see it over on the lathe in a minute. Alright, we're on the lathe now, and I'm going to get this prepared to set up with my sphere jig. What I do first is I turn this center part here, turn it until everything cleans up. Just through this area, and I'll take a little bit off of the sides. So let's do that now. Be sure to wear a face shield for this operation, or most any operation on the lathe. Okay, I think that's enough now, or I can set up my sphere jig. So, show you that in a minute. Alright, I've got my tenon on this end. I'm going to put the rotating center on the other end. Seems to be running pretty true. And this is my homemade circle or sphere cutter that I made many years ago. Just kind of a quick and dirty thing, and I've never changed it, so as you see it, there's a lot of room for improvement and make a better looking one and more adjustable, but it's done everything I want it to do. So you can, if you go, you can see I've got it where it sets, this goes in between the lathe bed ways, and here's a bolt that's holding everything in, and it pivots. We've got a hole on this end with a standard hold down I made, and if you change holes here, you go bigger or smaller. Actually, if you go all the way up to this hole, it's as big as you can go, and I don't remember what that is. If you go all the way down to this one, it's as small as you go, and it'll go down. It'll go down quite small. Can't remember what the numbers are, but that's the idea, and it's really quite simple. The piece on the top, the cutter is here. It's just a piece of tool steel that's adjustable. I got a set screw here so I can move it a little bit at a time. Just a little piece of steel captivating it in there. So I'm going to set this up now, and I'll show you how I turn it. Alright, I have the sphere jig all set up now, and the way I set it up is has to be centered here. So I come over here and see a space there, and on the other side about an equal space, and maybe a little more space here. That tells me I'm pretty much centered where I should be. So here we go. I should mention that This jig has a little bit of play in it, and I use that to my advantage. When I make a cut, I can hold back, but if I push up on it, so I can kind of make 3 or 4 passes on one setting before I move the blade. Okay. Lost my Allen wrench here. Now I'm going to move it in just a little. I'm turning about 820. Getting very close. I think I can move just one more light pass to clean it up. Should be good. Okay, I think that's good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out and sand these tenons off, put it between cup centers and finish it in this direction here to take those knobs off, and we'll be good. Okay, before I go on the slow turner, I'm going to need to put a hole in this, and I'll need a hole in the end where I usually mount these on a block. and with a pin sticking up, and this will fit over the pin so you can rotate it. So what I do, what the important part is, you need to get a hole that is centered to the sphere. In other words, you don't want it pointing off towards the side or something, otherwise it'll mount crooked. So what I've done is I need to put a hole right there where I made the prick punch. I have a fixture on my drill press here, I guess, that has this board clamped on here and a hole, a large hole in here, so that the ball sets on the hole. And that hole is in line with the drill press spindle. Okay, so no matter where you put this ball, you drill a hole in it, it's automatically drilled to the center. So here we go. Okay, I've drilled that hole in there. That's a number 7 drill, which is for a 1/4-20 tap. So this is my holder. This slips on over the shaft of my slow turner. I have a 1-inch shaft on my slow turners, and I will drill and tap. I will tap this hole out to 1/4-20, screw that in there. I'm going to put a little spacer in here just to keep it away so that I can get my epoxy almost completely covered to the hole. So now, okay, we're out here on my lanai where my slow turner is, and I'm going to give this the first coat. I will end up giving it 3 coats, put the first one on, and I let it dry until it's tacky. Takes 1.5 to 2 hours. So put a second coat on, wait the same amount of time, and then put a third coat on. Each coat that you put on makes it look much better each time. So the epoxy I use is high gloss ultra clear from Fiberglass Coatings in St. Petersburg, Florida. I've used a lot of different ones, and for my purpose this seems to work the best. It's a 2-to-1. So the part 2 is you get a quart, and part A, you get a gallon. So it gives you a 1.5 gallons. I use these brushes. They are bristle free. I get them by bulk on Amazon. They still end up costing you 50-60 cents a piece, but I don't like pulling bristles out of my finish. If you miss one, then it's too late once it's dried, and so I'd rather use these that are been very reliable. I've mixed up my epoxy. I've mixed up about 1.5 ounces here, and this just slips on over my slow turner shaft. I like it because there's a handle and you can put the epoxy on quite easy rather than trying to put it on while it rotates. It's just not as good. So here we go. The first coat I'm going to put on is just fairly thin, kind of like a primer coat, if you will. This will soak into this wood quite a bit. Epoxy is all self-leveling, so you don't have to worry about brush strokes or any of that. Just get it on there. Okay, I think we got it covered. Now, there we'll let it. Leave that there for an hour and a half or two, and we will give her the next coat. Alright, I've had to put 3 coats on here, and it looks pretty good. I can't see any defects, so now I have to decide how I'm going to mount this and what type of base I'm going to use. So I just thought I'd show you what it looks like after 3 coats, and we'll get back when I figure out what I'm going to do for mounting it.